came from all over the world to meet this plant. It is a very, very, very famous plant. It does things that no other plant can do, and almost nobody knows about it. Hey everyone, I want to let you know that I'm standing right next to a really cool, like, kind of protective friend. This would be like as if I never had a big sister or a big brother, but this would be a big sister or big brother, someone to look out for me when maybe I'm not looking out for myself very well. So I guess my whole point with this video is to tell you that, you know, we do not always have to take stuff from nature to gain from it, you know. So what we can do is actually just sit with a plant and have the plant talk to us and we talk to the plant, and we kind of can have this like little conversation back and forth. So I chose this plant because this is Opopanax, which is kind of like our local Northwest Panax, really strong herb, Horridium. So see these barbs on it? So this plant demands respect. This plant demands respect. This plant wants to be respected and noticed and wants to stand out and have people take it seriously. And sometimes I think there's times when maybe I'd like to be taken more seriously, right? So maybe I could stand with this plant instead of ingesting the plant or harvesting the plant. I can just stand with the plant and communicate with it back and forth and back. Maybe this plant's curious about what I have to say, maybe not, but we'll try it out. So thanks so much, guys. You can see this is like a little clump. They do this. They'll go in little clumps in the forest. They like this kind of light where there's a little bit of light, but not too much. They will grow where there's more light than this, but they love ravines and damp ravines. And you'll almost always see them either at the bottom of a ravine, along a ravine, sometimes at the top of a ravine, but they'll be there catching the water. And what is the part, people go, well, Donna, how on earth do you get medicine from something with such big spokes on it, big, gnarly, you know, skin penetrating spokes? And I don't know if you can show this, Jeff, closer. But because you wouldn't want to just sort of like, oh, here's my medicine, here's my Devil's Club medicine, grab it and go. It's like, that wouldn't be very smart. Instead, we gently, first of all, we ask for permission, right? Because this is a spiritual, this plant above all our plants is very shamanic. So just think that the Native Americans, many of the tribes would use the coal after they burnt it. They would use the coal and bear grease as their face paint for ceremonial dance. Because with Devil's Club and these shamanic plants that are so strong and powerful, and what was thought was that power, that strength, it would emanate from the human that was both drinking it and was basically, in that case, using it as a ceremonial exercise. But anyway, I did make a tea so we can try it. But the part that's medicinal is that you go under the ground and it's where they connect. It's the rhizomes that connect the two individuals. Because this is all part of a little family here, little shamanic, strong, very strong family. And so what we would never want to do is we would never want to take too much. We would never want to take too much from a patch that was too small. So if I was taking from this patch, I think it would be okay. I would go on the edges. I wouldn't go to the middle where I would disturb the strong family network here. I would go to the edges. So that's just me. But anyway, you would dig down, you would get the rhizomes, and then this is what you'd get. And don't need the sunglasses. So basically you would strip with a knife, you would strip this cambium and you would smell it, and it's got such an amazing strong scent, and that scent is all its strong volatile oils. It has, and you can even see the seeds here too. Ooh, that's good. Okay, I didn't see those. Oh no, that's a different plant. That's elderberry. Never mind, no wonder I didn't see it. Okay, no, this one doesn't have it. We have it on the other plant. We'll show it on the way out. But anyway, and you can see this green in the stem, kind of a green yellow, and that's what I want to get in my tea, that nice green yellow that's in the rhizome. So, and let me see if I can just unearth some just with my nail. So these volatile oils and these glycosides do a number of things for the body. They are a stabilizer for blood sugar. So they basically help with insulin-resistant diabetes. They help with adult onset diabetes. They help with rheumatoid arthritis, especially when this is picked in the spring. A lot of herbalists, most of the time we're going to pick something like this in the early fall when the plant is strongest. But for rheumatoid arthritis and perhaps for other immune-mediated diseases where we're trying to offset that inflammation, the spring pick might be stronger. Some herbalists say that. Michael Moore talks about using a cold infusion of this, and that's when we use a cold infusion, we're not destroying any of the active ingredients, all the aromatic parts, all the glycosides. We're not destroying them at all by heating them. But what Devil's Club is also known for is being a strong phlegmatic. It's a respiratory medicine. So it works like guaifenesin in the sense that it helps free up the stuck phlegm that's in the chest. And it does that at the same time as it helps with the stress level. So this is an herb that helps with our culture, all the stress, the pituitary stress, the hypothalamus stress, all the secondary stress on our adrenal glands. And so you can basically help your lungs at the same time as you can offset some of the stress on your adrenal system, on your endocrine system. So this is also an endocrine balancing herb. So it's an endocrine balancer. It's a lung medicine. It's a powerful spleen medicine, and it's just a powerful medicine. And I think it's really good for people who tend towards diabetes, which probably is like most of our culture. And so anyway, yeah, this is our Devil's Club. We'll go up and see a bigger patch of it where it's actually has some seeds. The seeds are considered toxic, so we usually just use the rhizomes and, like I say, this beautiful green yellow bark. Thanks so much. Hey guys, we've got some Devil's Club tea happening. This one's with a little bit of Indian plum, and we're just going to get we're going to see what both Diana and I think about trying it. We're going to get an honest opinion. So let's see. Bon appetit. Or whatever. Salud. What do you think?
Not bad.
Not too bad. It doesn't have any honey. It doesn't have any sugar. It's just...
It's mild.
I know.
Considering the dark color.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. Well, some of the dark color is probably the Indian plum. And there's a little vanilla flavor. I think that's from the Indian plum. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, just think, nobody else even knows what it is. We're like in the woods here, learning about Devil's Club, and I feel like and it prevents lice. Good. You never know. It also helps our adrenals, endocrine system. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I can do that.
I like it. Hey everyone, herb of the month this month is Devil's Club, Opopanax Horridium. And I know this is like a hardcore herb, so I hope everyone's wide awake, had their coffee, and ready to go, because this herb is, you don't ever forget encountering it, both medicinally and out in the woods. So we're in a place that's behind our house. It's a beautiful summer day. Jeff, thank you, is here in the woods getting stung by things as we video right now. I'm going to go down. We've got a couple different patches here, and I'm going to go down and we'll explore some of the rhizomes on this really cool plant. I mean, wait till you see this thing. Come on with me. Watch out for the gooseberry. that thing. And you know, one thing you might want to do if you ever come out and harvest any yourself is not wear shorts. It's not actually that smart. Okay, gooseberry. We're going to go right by him. And we already kind of pounced down some nettles here. This is kind of cool. Our sword fern is all the fronds or all the what do you call this? This is how the spores. This is how this fern has been reproducing for millions of years. It's amazing. They find these sword ferns and all kinds of ferns in what do you call it, Jeff? In the rock. Fossils. It's just so neat. The Native Americans around here, the children made a game with pala pala, I think it was called, where they made a game with picking the little leaves off this. Anyway, let's move on to the Devil's Club. So, again, not so smart with the shorts, but I wanted to show you, this is the coolest thing. So we've got this patch, it kind of extends over there, it extends all the way through there. The main part of the thicket is kind of about 5 feet to the right of me. And the thing about Devil's Club or Opopanax Horridium, the reason it's called Horridium is if these things accidentally cut you, the wound does not heal well. And this is last year's stem, and then this is a true root. This is this year's rhizome, and we kind of dug away at it a little bit so you could see that what you could do here if you wanted to make a cutting is cut here, and this little guy has its own root system, and if it survived it would come up there. But this whole thing, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see it over there, Jeff? It gives rise to almost another plant system. So this is a very, very strong rhizome spreading Devil's Club plant, and it grows in ravines. It grows in relatively stable areas. So this has obviously been logged. Most of Washington has, and this is a second growth forest, maybe even third or fourth growth, because this is there is a logging company that comes up here. And so, but what I was going to say is it grows in ravines. It really loves ravines. And in a second, we'll get to see a little bit better specimen, but when I harvested it, I wanted to do it from this area. And the reason is that it's got a more spread out area. There's a more central, it's a larger area. So one thing about harvesting anything from the wild is, especially this plant, which is relatively, it's not endangered, but it's kind of along those lines, especially if we log at the rate we are. This is a very, it's not like your foxglove or your mullein or your nettles or all your plentiful herbs. This is one that's a very strong medicine to be used in a very small amount, not to be taken lightly. Don't take more than you need. And again, this is one that grows in our area in the Pacific Northwest. We're so lucky to have it. So Opopanax, it's very related to the Panax family in the Aurelia family. So that whole family contains glycosides that are extremely strong. And the best time to harvest it is late summer, early fall, and I'll show you in a moment of the best book I've found talking about Devil's Club. And so anyway, what we'll probably do if we harvest it from, we already got a little bit, just a little foot of it, and what I've been using it for lately is cats with chronic sinusitis and chronic asthma, because what it is, it's a respiratory and spleen herb. So this herb, and I'll tell you about it a little more in a second, if you have that thick bronchial secretions that you need more expectorant, you need to be able to cough things up, but you can't, like at the end of a cold and nothing seems to come up, this herb will help you expectorate at the same time as it's tonifying and strengthening your whole endocrine system. So I'll come down here, I'll take a little piece, and then we'll go up to the other place where we'll see more, a little bit better specimen. And again, this is right behind our house, so otherwise wildcrafting permits would be suitable for a plant like this. So Michael Moore talks about taking looks like, okay, this guy, we did cut this one off. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and take this guy. You can see these large leaves. I mean, this is a leaf, and with these spokes on it, this is a leaf that you just are not going to mess with. And you look at it, and it has this amazing smell. And Michael Moore says it's like scented ginseng, you know. And when we get ginseng from China, if we get the regular ginseng from China, Panax, I can't remember the last name on that species name. It's a very much of a yang tonic. This is much more of an endocrine. It'll work on the whole endocrine, and we'll talk about that in a second. So its most famous use, of course, is for insulin resistance, diabetes. I will probably, since we already accidentally, I guess, cut this out, I'm going to go ahead, and of course you need really thick leather gloves. I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of this just because it would probably pass away if we didn't anyway. And we'll probably cut these leaves off, and we'll use the whole stem, and we'll use the little bit of this rhizome, and that'll be our medicine for these kitties. And it could be used for humans or dogs or whatever too. It lasts quite well, at least up to a year if you dry it really well. So let's come up behind us here, and we'll watch out for that gooseberry. That guy is not as bad as Devil's Club, but he's kind of bad. We'll come over here, and again, so we took just this. It doesn't have any berries on it. It's not part of the central thicket, and it's on the very end. I made sure there was other rhizomes with other, although I kind of didn't really realize how connected this was. It's very interconnected plant. So very strong herb. So we'll take it over here, and we'll probably, this is the plant also, right behind me, and in its berried form. So you can see these beautiful red berries. We had my dog Smudge for 19 years, and we fed her a few of these berries every week or so. And you can make a tea. Now I realize, oh, you're probably better off making a tea from the berries. But she liked them just like that. It's kind of interesting. There are some toxic berries called baneberry that looks really similar to that. Just so you want to, if you do use anything with the berries, which isn't traditional at all, most people use the rhizomes, you want to make sure it has these big leaves with these types of spokes. There's nothing else like that in these forests. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a seat, and we'll harvest a little bit while I ramble on a little bit about it. And so, seeing where I have everything. Okay, here's where we took this. So this is kind of what we're going to take basically for the whole year. And I'm just going to cut a little bit here. I might actually try to grow this in our woods, just because I see all these beautiful rhizomes. So I'm gonna take that and try to make a new plant out of it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave these little notches here. I'm gonna leave those up above the ground, and then I'm gonna put the roots below the ground, and we'll see if we can grow any of this. And if we can, I'll get back to you on that and let you know. Well, we were able to make a new one ourselves. We have a perfect area, a really wet area in the back of our property, so we'll try to do that. So I'm going to hold that one and not do anything to it. But this other one, oh, I wanted to tell you, this is the best book, and I was lucky enough to do one herbal training with Michael Moore, and Michael Moore passed away now. I think he had a kidney issue. It's just so sad. But he was an excellent herbal teacher. I think he started the Southwest Botanical Herbal School. And he has a whole section on Devil's Club in here, so it's great. This book is just awesome if you can get it, if you want to know anything at all. And he's got such a sense of humor. He actually, maybe I should try to find the page really quick. Now I don't remember what. Anyway, let me get through it. He talks about the perfect kind of person to take Devil's Club. It's like really funny description, but anyway, we'll see if we can get back to it. So you can see that this was this year's stock, and then what happened was the plant just shot out the stem with these leaves, and then but we just looked at last year's stock, so you could also gather last year's stock, which is kind of nice if you can do that. This one I probably wouldn't have gathered had I realized it was attached to a plant that was going to try to be a whole plant before we cut it out. But like I say, we're going to try and make up for it by rooting it at our house. Not this, but the rhizome. And but it has all these like really interesting little notches here, and all kinds of spokes. And I mean, this is a plant that wants you to notice it, probably wants you to use it, definitely wants you to notice it. And so I really respect that. Well, what I did was I gathered, this is what I thought we would just use as medicine. But what you're going to want to do and is get some good gloves, of course. I mentioned that before. And I kind of already did this, so I feel bad. There were a lot of spokes and spikes on this rhizome, but you don't really want to injure the inner cambium. You just want to kind of, and I mean, I think Michael Moore just talks about using, washing it, just lightly washing it with a Brillo, like not a Brillo pad, but what do you call it? Like a steel wool kind of thing. But you can use a knife too, that's okay. And it's not actually that dirty, even though it was in the soil. Isn't that amazing? So it had little spokes on it, like all the rest of the plant does, but I just went ahead and... Now, I know you can't smell this, but this thing is full of medicine. I can smell it. Oh my gosh, it's just... And of course, I've used Devil's Club a lot in the past, but not the kind that I've harvested, so just to smell it fresh is like such a treat. Anyway, so we've got that beautiful green medicine there, and what we'll probably do when we get home is just cut it up, and I'll make a fresh tincture out of some of it, and I'll also dry some of it. Apparently if you harvest it in the spring, one of the herbalists said it was better for the adult onset diabetes if you do that, to regulate the blood glucose, but it will mold a lot easier. So anyway, I think this is a good time of year. Probably next month would have been a little better, August, September, something like that. But I also thought, ooh, look at that beautiful berry. And again, this patch we didn't harvest from, but so we'll do that when we get home. Let me see if I can tell you a little bit more about it. Let's see. I know I'm going to kill myself with this knife, so. Okay, you know what? When in doubt, put it in the ground. It's like I don't want to trip over that. Let's see. On Devil's Club, what else can I say? It works on the brain, actually, on the hypothalamus and pituitary to help with stress. These gloves aren't probably that nice. To help with the stress of our society, of life. It works on that adrenal pituitary axis, right? So it helps with the extremes of metabolic stresses and endocrine stresses. And so what that means to me is that your autonomic nervous system, your adrenals, all of your endocrine system will be more functional if you were taking it as a preventative than if you were, like, as just a little bit of a Devil's Club tea would be nice. They sell Devil's Club capsules. I don't know how effective they are. Probably. I think it's effective in most ways. It's a very, you don't have to take a tea, you don't have to do a tincture. It's like all of them work. People use them in different ways. And, but I like the tea. I like doing like almost like, Michael Moore talks about a cold infusion. He talks about a cold infusion, in this case he talks about it for rheumatoid arthritis, because it also, in addition to helping that adrenal pituitary axis, it also helps with autoimmune diseases. And I think the cold infusion is such a genius idea. So what I might do is take this, cut it up and put it in a little baggie or a little glass something, put it in the freezer, take a little bit out and cut it up real small and have the clients do just a cold infusion. A cold infusion is just you pour just lukewarm water, or not even lukewarm, just cold water over the herb and let them sit for a couple of hours, maybe up to 4 to 6 hours. So the medicine, and stirring the medicine in. Wonderful way to do it. And you're not going to destroy any of the active glycosides and the active chemicals in it that are responsible for its actions both on the endocrine system and for autoimmune diseases. So I don't know that we know how it works for autoimmune diseases, but one of my acupuncturist friends just mentioned her client with rheumatoid arthritis just completely got cured with it. So it doesn't work with an active autoimmune disease, like when it's in its hot, inflamed state. What it's going to work as is slowly as your preventative. So to me, anything that works slowly as your preventative is going to be more working, I guess you might say, on the cellular level, not so much on the immune cascade level, but more to sort of tonify, and maybe in Chinese medicine to tonify the spleen. This is definitely a spleen tonic in Chinese medicine, affecting the immune system in a very profound way. So autoimmune diseases, I think we're seeing just a huge cascade of them. Just you can see on my website, and I mean, I write articles about autoimmune diseases for animals because it's immense. We do see polyarthritis, autoimmune diseases. I think this herb would be great for that. I haven't used it for it because acupuncture works so well. But when someone's tired, run down, it also would help with the anxiety-induced hyper blood pressure is too high. Call that, Jeff. Okay. He's trying to be silent. He is silent. Let's see. Hypertension. Thank you. Thank you, brain. Michael Moore has a funny description. Let me see if I can. Maybe Jeff can just show you this whole thicket. It goes way up. It's just amazing. And Devil's Club. Of course, did I forget my page? Yes, I did. Devil's Claw. This is not to be confused with Devil's Claw, which is a South African herb for arthritis. So something to realize is like, oh yeah, there might be a few different devil things. They call it Devil's Club, of course, because the Native Americans used it for hooking octopuses out of their den. Can you imagine that, if you're an octopus? And they also used it as a charcoal, and the reason it was used as a charcoal for Native American dancing and rituals is because it is strong. Look at it, it's powerful. This herb is going to be your power ally, and there's no other herb, or at least around our woods, like it. And so if you wanted to be stronger as an individual, maybe you would hang a little bit in front of your door. Maybe in a ceremony you'd use the charcoal of this plant in particular to get more strength. And it's just an amazing plant. Oh, here's what he says. This is so funny. I just love Michael Moore. And he lives so well through these books. So let's see. My observations and those of some other herbalists and physicians have been that the herb as a tea works better for stocky, mesomorphic, anabolic stress type, middle-aged folks with elevated blood, this is for humans, but with elevated blood lipids, moderately high blood pressure, and early signs of adult onset insulin resistance diabetes. He's just so cute the way he says that. So in general, it's not going to stabilize someone's blood sugar who goes out and eats Krispy Kremes every day. I mean, you know, it's just not going to work like that. But if your endocrine system is, the whole thing about insulin resistance is that your body, you eat the wrong foods and your body is shutting down its endocrine pathway, where when we eat a little bit of sugar or anything that has carbohydrates, our insulin is supposed to hook in and drive all that glucose into the cells. So if you're on a correct diet and really trying to fix yourself that way, this in a tea form may be a good ally. In animals, I might think of it for thyroid disease. I might use it in conjunction with a lot of other herbs for thyroid disease. And I guess for true thyroid disease, you know, where the dog is overweight, doesn't eat very much, you know, very lethargic. I mean, look at this plant. It's an endocrine ally, so it'd be great for that. I might use it in a dog that I was worried that might develop Cushing's disease. So, you know, a little overweight female dog whose liver enzymes are a little bit high and who's drinking a lot more water than they should. So there's an endocrine stressor. And not when the animal's already gone into Cushing's perhaps, but as a preventative to Cushing's in a low dose as a T form. So a lot of, and you know, I feel intoxicated right now because this plant is just, it has this amazing fragrance that it's not necessarily what you'd call a nice fragrance like a rose, but this plant has a fragrance that you just sit up and kind of go, you notice it, you know, you just notice it. So I think that's all I wanted to say about Devil's Club. I'm just feeling like I might want to sit here for another hour with it, but maybe, I don't know how Jeff would feel about that. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me this month.